So I really wasn't sure this weekend what I wanted to make a video about next. Group composition for PvP, last stand fixes I think are needed, some character builds, or what. So last night while playing, I once again found myself screaming at my computer, threatening to quit the game and never play it again. And then I realized that maybe the most important issue to address in the game for myself, and honestly likely a number of other people, was it secret mines or a broken SVD, hacking, or some other PvP mechanic? Oh no, it was the hours drained away in game managing inventory space. Yes, inventory space. In my opinion, the most important issue for me in this game right now is to tackle its inventory space problem. So to get started on the many frustrating aspects of this game's inventory, let's go back to 1.2. We had an RNG problem that existed which had us running around grinding for a specific gun, talents, and gear. The problem was that with the way the math worked for getting this stuff, it would likely have taken us 1,000 hours to acquire these items on average, and some players would have never received them. I covered this then when I turned the Division Tech RNG into number of hours to acquire certain items, and it all made sense then. So the development team increased drop rates across the board to offset the statistical issue instead of addressing the numbers directly, and in the process they also made the game content feel more rewarding with more drops, a good thing. But in the place of these problems, we ended up with an inventory space problem and the inability to streamline our game time toward a specific purpose, such as acquiring tactician gear specifically, for instance. And instead, we sift through countless useless pieces, currently trying to find one from cache or loot drops. So let's look at what I mean and how I think they should fix the issue without adding more inventory space. So I'm not sure how the development team interacts with their game, so let's give them our perspective. Let's start with a character build. I wake up today and say, I want to build a Final Measure build. I have 4 characters, all filled with gear and a full inventory. I go to my stash and I have 5 pieces of Final Measure, 3 chests, a glove, and a holster. So to try out this set for this purpose of a video that I was going to do, I now need to find only one other piece, a backpack, a knee pad, or a mask. Sounds so simple, right? Well, let's make sure I don't have any of those pieces on any of my other characters, so let's log out and log in 4 different times, checking each character. Now, let's go back to our stash and make sure I didn't miss anything. After a while, nope, no other pieces. Now, why do I have only 4 pieces of Final Measure? Well, I had a PvE build with Alpha Bridge I was working on. That required me to hold on to a ton of Alpha Bridge pieces with different major stat rolls for firearms, stamina, electronics, just in case. I had different pieces for the chest that had exotic damage, some with skill haste, some with crit damage, and I had a glove with shotgun damage and skill haste that I could roll crit damage on if I decided to go with that route. But I better also keep this piece with crit chance in case I do this, and so on and so on and so on. Until I have an entire character filled with Alpha Bridge rolled 50 different ways, all for these different scenarios in mind to see where I want to go with this one specific build. Meanwhile, I'm looting pieces that drop that may be for the next build, and I only keep the best of the best. And then I need the mods. Oh god, the mods. Yes, we got to keep a ton of those to make sure we have the ability to change these out to our liking too. And throughout this process, I'm getting great drops of gear sets I am nowhere near ready to use, such as Hunter's Faith Final Measure at the time. So I only keep a few of these, and here we are. Fast forward back to putting together this Final Measure build. I have 3 pieces that are usable. So the first thing, I have 5,000 Phoenix credits and 200 million credits and a few 100,000 DZ funds. Let's check the vendors, and nope, not this week, no pieces I need, all duplicates. Well, that was unlucky. So what are my other options? Blueprints. Oh yeah, let's go do that. Go to the vendor. Nope, not a single piece of Final Measure. Oh, there's a 229 gear score blueprint in the vendor for Final Measure. I guess I could buy that and use it, but really? That's just stupid. So let's go buy caches. Opening. Oh my god, am I about to pull my hair out at this point or what? And that is when you realize that if you sold and deconstructed every single item you have to show for your time played in the game, you could actually trade all of that and spend every fund that you have and could actually not be able to find one piece of Final Measure to put a build together. And that is a huge freaking problem. My DZ funds, Phoenix credits, and regular credits and gear are the representation of my time played. And if I worked and earned in any walk of life, I should be able to decide where those funds go that represent my work. The current system is much like working for a casino. And when they pay you, they tell you to buy clothes. You must gamble on a random loot of stuff. Say you want to buy a winter coat. Well, open up this cache and you might get one. But they may give you a pair of sandals, a beach shirt, a beach cooler, and a 6-pack of beer and a Yeti cooler. But none of that shit really does anything for the fact that it's snowing outside and you're cold. Well, I guess the beer wouldn't be too bad to help with the pain, but either way. So what can they do? Many suggest that we need more inventory space. I completely disagree. The last thing I want to do is be sifting through even more gear. It's bad enough as it is. What I believe is that all gear blueprints should be added to the vendor and the price of them be increased by 50 to 100%. The crafting system is the answer to the problem, not inventory space. And the crafting system is sitting there, so let's use it. They should make the blueprints a lifelong blueprint, meaning that they carry across all gear score changes. No more stockpiles of 182 gear set blueprints and 229 gear set blueprints, etc., laying around on my character with no uses. They should make buying one blueprint carry across all characters. I buy a Firearm Alpha Bridge knee pad lifelong blueprint, and on every character that should be available. No more logging in and logging out to go to a character that has all the blueprints. Meanwhile, I have 3 other characters with crafting material on them that is unusable. They can leave gun blueprints as a rotating stock. Leave gold gear as a rotating stock and not lifelong. I'm fine with that, but make them lifelong blueprints at this point. As far as gear sets go, we are in year 2 of the game. How much longer are we going to be doing this anyway? So now let's look at our guy screaming at his computer over the fact that he's played hundreds of hours in the past month and can't get a final measure chest despite all of the resources he has saved. Now he walks over to the blueprint vendor with our new system in place, finds the final measure knee pad stamina blueprint, buys it with the funds that he has earned by playing the game, feels good about knowing he will have it forever, and gets to use his money the way he wants. Now he goes on to the character he's already on, crafts a knee pad, and goes and uses the build and hates it and moves on with life. Notice that if even we have all the blueprints, which if the cost is increased would be a very expensive endeavor to achieve, we still have purpose to go out and play the game and get loot. We can still get great pieces of gear dropped and end up using those pieces. Notice we also would have more purpose for actually going out and grinding for Phoenix credits. And if they sold crafting materials at the vendor for the same exchange rate of what a piece of gear gives you for breaking it down and selling it, then we would sell gear and later decide we would have actually broken it down and gotten crafting pieces equating to the same thing. This change would also reduce the number of pieces that are needed to keep. I shouldn't be having to keep 20 pieces of bad gear until I get a piece to replace one of them. In this system, we would be keeping only the best pieces, knowing that we could transform the resources later of bad pieces into pieces that are on average similar if we so needed one, meaning less inventory space. And one little final tweak and we will get out of here. Please, when I click on a gear set to add mods inside of my character, show all of the mods available on the other pieces of gear they are attached to so I can unslot them and add them to my gear the exact same way that work on my guns. So much time is wasted sifting through gear items to find the mod. I don't understand it. So in conclusion, if they make these changes and keep the current system, we have this: a game that has rewarding drop rates for content that drops all items for rewards, so that certain items, except exotics, are not buried behind content certain players cannot achieve. For example, all of Tacticians being buried behind Falcon Lost. This creates less needed inventory space and not more of it. More reason to do content to acquire said funds, and the ability to streamline our game time and resources into acquiring specific items, in my opinion, the most missing thing in the game right now. I, for one, think I should be able to spend my money how I see fit, and this allows that. I know a number of you are also enraged by this system daily, so how about we all push this as a change? I really do think it's a good one that really doesn't have any negatives, and it's just common sense. But thanks again, let me know what you think in the comments, and let's start focusing on fixing these types of changes finally, instead of changing the entire functioning of how the game works. Focusing on the little things, it's great. Thanks guys, I hope everyone enjoyed, and push some of these changes guys. Let's start pushing changes that really matter to the player. Take it easy.